CMHC has declared that the prices of homes have not bottomed. Do not get suckered into it, that prices will be going down a lot more. All right, let's jump straight into the article of today, you guys. Canada's home prices haven't hit the bottom, according to CMHC. This is for Canadian properties, but this is going to be the same if you're in the United States or Europe or Australia. But this is the body that provides a lot of insurance in Canada on the high leveraged loans. Canadian home prices will continue to decline, they're saying, in the middle of 2023 before they bottom out and start rising again through 2025. So they're expecting it to follow the interest rates that they're talking about. Now, they released a report about that today, which we're going to jump into. The National Housing Agency's forecast, released on April 27th, predicts that while the average home price for 2023 will end up below last year's level, a lack of supply and increasing demand will reinforce the country's housing affordability challenges. Yes, it also is changing based on the amount of immigrants that are coming here, and we're not building any new homes. Last year, if you guys remember, we set a record. Over 1 million new people came to Canada, yet we're not building these homes that we need. All right, so they're anticipating that. Now, Dugan, their economist, is saying that the housing agency forecasts that the Bank of Canada will hold interest rates steady throughout the rest of the year and will start bringing them down in 2024. Obviously, if he is a federal employee, he's going to echo the same words that the Federal Reserve of the States or the Bank of Canada is saying, that they're intending to keep the rates higher for longer. They don't want to shock the market. They're trying to tell you what there is. But I also have never seen such a disconnect before, because all of the markets are betting that the interest rates will have to come down, and they're betting by Q3 of this year the rates will go down. Yet the Bank of Canada or the Federal Reserve in the United States is saying, no way, Jose, that's not happening. So you have to wonder, where are they getting this? I've never seen such a divide. Yet we also have to look at Jerome Powell in the United States, who is the leader of the Federal Reserve and of the world's reserve currency. We have to pay attention. He isn't a game player. He's a lawyer, and he's trying to pick his words very, very carefully and tell you exactly what they intend to do. So here we are with the economist at CMHC. He's echoing the same thing, that they're planning to keep their rates higher for longer, and that's why home prices will follow that. A lack of affordability, they will continue despite cooling inflation and a gradual decline in mortgage rates. Well, I have a problem with that, because the lack of affordability will continue. I agree, but you have to make several leaps here to say that cooling inflation, and number two, you're going to have to say expect cooling mortgage rates. Okay, so at the beginning of the article, he is mentioning, number one, that the prices are going to stay longer because those interest rates have to stay higher for longer, yet they're still going to say that they're going to drop interest rates. Interest rates have everything to do with this, everything. The prices are only as high as they are because we had low interest rate for 20 years. Trust me, if we went back to the interest rates that we had back in the day, 20% interest rates, home prices would collapse to squat. So let's take a look at this article in CMHC. This is just the bullet points of what the article had. So they're expecting weaker economic growth and higher mortgage rates continuing to slow the economy in 2023. Wah, wah. Kind of old news, guys? Kind of like stating the obvious. Thanks, Tips. So as of a result, we expect a price decline between 2022 and 2023. Guys, this has already happened, but the average price will not revert to pre-pandemic levels. Well, that is impossible. It's impossible because they printed so much money during 2020 to 2023. They printed like 30% more currency unit. How it would be possible? It's going to remain higher. It's never going to go back. No prices. I don't care if you're talking about potatoes or anything. It's not going back to pre-pandemic levels. However, we expect the decline to bottom out sometimes in 2023. So prices, my friends, will bottom out 100% when the economy has a real heart attack. Notice in the United States, they still are in positive GDP. They're probably going to be raising, I would say 100%. They're going to be raising those interest rates again. So for me, absolutely, there's going to bottom out during a bad time. Why would it bottom out now? Number two, you guys, for me, I think absolutely, I get asked this all the time. Do you think they're going to lower the interest rates? Of course they're going to lower the interest rates. They're going to go back down to zero. But when? Think of when they dropped them. We had to have a pandemic for that to happen, or planes going to buildings, or 2001. When something bad in the economy happens, they will lower those rates. They will, but they're just not going to do it on a sunny Tuesday afternoon just because. So this is going to continue. We anticipate a growth in prices, sales for 23 to 25. Well, I mean, that's a long dated. You don't know what that means. We project housing starts to decrease in 2023. Well, that's sure, because nobody can make any money with the interest rates being what they are. Home ownership is becoming increasingly unaffordable as mortgage rates rise and supply remains tight. Well, for sure, this happens all the time. So if we download and take a look at their housing market brochure that they put out there, I just wanted to show you the number of stats. Now, of course, they're going to be looking at every city, but this isn't important for us to look at every city in Canada. What I like to look at is the number of starts that they're doing. But if you notice, they normally are making 200 to 250,000 homes. This is every year, and it's been this way forever. So this is where I have a bit of an issue. Is a lot of governments come out in Canada, let's say, and they say, guys, we guarantee that we will build 1 million new properties in 4 years. And the crowd goes wild. Ah, yes, we need this. Are you guys looking at what the numbers are? They're always that much. So if you are going to make 1 million anyway, and they're coming out, we're going to build 1 million. So you're telling me you're not going to make the situation any better at all? It's kind of like a no-brainer. Also, Canada brought in 1 million immigrants last year, a record for Canada. Yet we're not building any new homes. Where are they all supposed to go? So yes, the competition for the existing homes is crazy. And so I know that they say, well, if we build more homes in Toronto, but guys, the average price in Toronto is 1.2 million. How many people fleeing a war zone have 1.2 million in their back pocket in order to buy? So this problem is going to continue, and there is no increase in the number of homes being built. In fact, it looks like it's going down. So that's not very good, right? So if we look at the prices of homes in Toronto, now this average is including all houses. It's also including all condos, everything all together. Okay. We can see here it was at 1.3 million, and now it's just over 1 million. Okay. So it's down almost 30% from peak to trough. So that is a big drop. But remember, it would have been worse if this year hadn't had this pop in prices. So why was there a massive pop in these prices? It's because mortgage rates came down. A lot of you saw Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, the S banks, they all went down. And when they went down, the banks are dropping their mortgage rates, and that now allows you to borrow more money. So this is why we have this big pop here. So for the first time in a year, remember you guys, I was saying last year, sell, because the prices were getting crushed with those inflation rates and those mortgage rates. And so we knew that the prices were going down. I did not anticipate Silicon Valley Bank. So this is a huge reprieve for people who were thinking about selling your home. If you were thinking about selling your home, I mean, this is where to do it, right? And so if you guys want to go, you can always reach me if you're thinking about the GTA in the Greater Toronto area. This is where you could sell your home for more money, faster and less hassle. I always tell you that this is the type of situation that you want to be in right here. If you guys want to look up any country that you want to go to, okay, just type in your bond yield into Google, whatever it's going to be, and open up your bond yield. So when you look at this and you pull it up over the past year, this is going to show you what your mortgage rates are going to be. So where you want to be buying a home is when it's higher, because that means your home price is going to be low. It's kind of like the inverse. But when mortgage rates are going to be low, that's when you want to sell your home, because there's a big pop in prices. If you see that earlier in the year, just at the end of the year, mortgage rates dropped a lot, which makes home prices go up. And then the Silicon Valley Bank took it down a lot too. So you want to be in this area for this zone. So right now, when you see that these prices have recovered a little bit, I mean, you're not making all your money back, but you are doing pretty good anyway, right? And homes are selling a lot quicker now than they were before. Before they were selling, look at this, 30 days on average. This is all condos, all homes. Now they're selling 20 days on average, which is incredible. We're really, really happy about that. But it's still not going to address the entire problem. So guys, let's do some quick math here, okay? So if you had a property, let's just see here, and we're going to change some interest rates and just see how the payments actually affect things, okay? So maybe 250,000. Let's try that. Okay. So if you had $1 million mortgage at 2% for 25 years, $4,000 payment. Today, the mortgage rate is 6%. So you would have to have a home of 650,000 in order to get a $4,000 payment. Guys, do you notice the difference? This is a 35% drop. From last year, I could afford with the same salary I have today, $1 million home. This year, I could afford a $650,000 home. And if mortgage rates went absolutely stupid bananas up to 20%, which they won't, I know, but back in 1987 or something, it was like that. Look at this, a $250,000 home at 20% would be a $4,000 a month payment. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So you could see home prices decline by 75% for sure if you saw those rates go up to some crazy numbers like that. But notice that the home prices had to drop an enormous amount for this to make any sense whatsoever. All right, so let's take a look at something just to figure out, like, where are we? Where are we when it comes to the prices of properties? So just let's say we had a $1 million property. We already know that some of the properties, you saw the average, a lot of them are down 30%, right? But if they're down 30%, remember when we saw the mortgages that it would have to be $1 million last year was equivalent to $650,000 this year, which would be a 35% drop by the numbers, which means we have farther to go. But that's not it. So if the prices have to match your salary, which of course they do. You can never spend more than a third of your income on homes. If that is the case, guys, we now have to have a 35% drop in real estate prices, but that's not the end of it. We also have money supply growth, M2 money supply. And obviously there isn't any GDP that's going on. So if we have no GDP that is growing in the country, but we are still going to be printing something, maybe let's say 14% more cash, we have now a negative 35% on the prices of the homes, but we have a plus 14% on the money printing. So you kind of have to add the two together. That's how we have to get it. So minus 35% because of the interest rates, plus 14% because of inflation. When you put the two together, what does it come up with? Minus 21. And that's what we should be expecting somewhere when we're going to be doing the properties. So you kind of have to do these three things. You got to look at M2 money supply. You have to look at the GDP. You have to look at the interest rates. Once you combine those three all together, you're going to have a much better idea of where you have to go with properties. So again, if we take a look at where we are when we're looking at properties in Toronto, they'll show you where we have to be. You can only ever spend, like say you're making $12,000 a month, the bank will allow you to spend $4,000 a month on properties. That's the way it goes. So if you still make the same salary, you can never afford more. So the value of the property is going to change based on the interest rates. So when we look at the prices on properties in Toronto today, all properties across all fields, right? That's why it's 1.3 down to just over $1 million. And so you have to combine these things. There's going to be a lot of price squeezing that is going to continue as the desperate need for countries to be able to pay the interest on their debts, which is crippling them. Once they have to pay even more and more and more of that interest, they're going to have to print more and more money because they're not getting it from their tax base. So a lot of money printing is going to happen. So you're going to have to do the same equations that I'm trying to show you here to find out where we got to equalize in that market. Imagine like a swimming pool and you taking a rock and throwing it in. Now, if you throw that rock in, you know that it's going to raise the level of the water. But is it very smooth? Does it go this smooth? No, it creates all these waves and splishy splash every which way. But eventually, if you just don't touch it, what's going to happen? It will even out again. And so what we always look at is that lag time. How long does it take for all the splishes and splashes all to go away? Generally, that's about 18 months. Go to Investopedia and look up the response lag time. It generally takes 18 months for an interest rate hike to actually take effect. And since we are not even 18 months since the first rate hike, we got a lot more of the splishing and splashing to go on. We're going to see more and more of that play out through the year. I'm glad CMHC says that, but they're being a little bit optimistic on when they're going to see it all recover. Again, we got to keep on monitoring what's happening. Hopefully, this helps you guys out a lot. Please consider subscribing and liking and hitting that notification bell. And the next 2 years is going to dictate the next 20 years of your life.